Hi guys, welcome to the Shannon Show. So today's video is going to be a review of season 2 of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So obviously I've just come back from binge watching 9 hours worth of episodes. The first season came out in November, so it's quite a quick turnover. Obviously season 1 was really good. Recapping on last season, Sabrina puts her name in the book. She's now basically assumed her true form as a witch, and she's got all of these new powers now, but she's kind of distancing herself from her mortal friends and exclusively attending the School of Night now. And Sabrina and Harvey have broken up. So it's only 9 episodes this season. It's not as long as it was last season. Last season we had 10 episodes plus an extra episode. So the main storyline of this season obviously is centered around Sabrina and her kind of integrating within being full witch with full powers and her relationship with the Dark Lord. And she's on indefinite leave from Baxter High and she's attending the School of Night full-time in the beginning. Hilda kind of wants her to go back, but she kind of stresses to the fact that she doesn't want to hurt her friends, so that's why she's distancing herself from them. So the Dark Lord begins testing Sabrina, and basically he's just in her ear telling her to do all of these things like harm people and do certain things to get what she wants, kind of testing her, seeing how far he can push. In the first episode she also gets attacked by these 3 demons, and they kind of put some breadcrumbs in because we find out that they haven't been summoned by anyone, and they basically put a breadcrumb in where they say like they don't want the bastard half witch to ascend. So that's a little breadcrumb in there. So Sabrina and Nick are moving forward with the relationship, and Harvey and Raz have got together, but Harvey and Sabrina do have a couple moments through the season, and they do actually have a little smooch. There was a lot of promo going on, like, is she going to choose Nick? Is she going to choose Harvey? Out of the 2 boys, personally, I prefer Nick. If I was Sabrina, I could not be dealing with Harvey and how, like, 1 minute he's fine and then the next minute he's accusing you of doing some evil spell every time something goes wrong, and I just cannot deal with that. So I'm team Nick all the way. So Raz eventually goes blind as the curse from season 1 says, you know, all the women in her family go blind at some point, and her dad offers to pay for some corrective surgery, but the money is going to come from the church, and she doesn't feel good about the money coming from the church. Personally, if I was going blind, like I have really bad eyesight, like I have to wear, like I'm like -4 on my prescription, so if somebody was offering to pay for my eyesight back, I don't care where the money is from, as long as it's paid, I'm gonna say yes. But you know, she's on her moral thing, so yeah, whatever. So then yeah, she goes blind, and she's like really sad about it, she's really emotional about it, but then Sabrina offers, you know, to do a spell to try and get her eyesight back. She doesn't want to hear it. And then, but when her dad's talking about, oh, we're going to send you to blind school, then she's like, okay, and then she hollers at her girl Sabrina like, can you help me out? Because I'm not trying to be going to no blind school. So she eventually does get her eyesight back. Susie now identifies as Theo, and obviously Theo's now struggling to kind of integrate within the kind of macho masculine boy environment. So he's getting picked on and bullied. Sabrina helps him out by giving him this magical rope that basically makes the head bully Billy trip over, and there's this like one incident that happens where it just pushes Theo over the edge and he's just ready to harm somebody, and he does the rope thing as Billy's walking down the stairs, and he breaks his leg, and it's nasty and it's grim and it's bloody, and Sabrina feels really guilty, but it does the job. After that, Billy leaves him alone and even says sorry. So, you know, all around happy days. There's some romance for Aunt Hilda. She gets with the guy that works at the comic store, Dr. C. At first he kind of rejects her, but it turns out he's got like a demon trapped inside him. I don't know what it's called, how to describe it. Not that good on my witch / demon entity terminology yet, but he's been conjured or whatever, and that's the reason why he said no in the beginning. But now, because obviously Hilda's a witch and she's cool with it, so they're a thing. Blackwood hooks Zelda up with a job at the school, but the other kind of female faculty members are not here for it because they kind of just feel like she's fucked her way to the top and they're just not here for her. So they're kind of meddling with her, but she gets her own back on them. Obviously, Zelda and Blackwood have just been having this like little affair with each other, but obviously Blackwood's wife died, but there has to be like a respectable grieving period. So he doesn't really want to have their relationship out on these streets, even though everybody knows. So she's kind of like, you know, we can't be having no relations until you put a ring on it. And he puts a ring on it and they get together and they get married. So Prudence, obviously, you know, she has this complex that she feels like she hasn't been claimed by her dad because he hasn't given her her name. So this season is kind of like her mission for her to secure the Blackwood name. And she's just been doing all the bits, shouted, to get this name. Ambrose's boyfriend Lucas ends up dead under suspicious circumstances. And Blackwood basically gives Ambrose Lucas's old job, which is in his like secret Judas society. So then basically in this Judas society, he puts forward this manifesto, which is like really in the dark ages, really misogynistic, kind of like men rule everything and women are just meant to be subservient and stuff like that. That's kind of how the manifesto is. And he basically wants to push that to the anti-pope, which is responsible for kind of legislation and laws. Sabrina kind of hears about this and she basically, her and Nick somehow get to the bottom of the ocean to retrieve her dad's manifesto, which is a bit more liberal, a bit more mortal friendly. And in the meeting with the anti-pope, when Blackwood puts forward his manifesto, Sabrina manages to get in through Ambrose and give him the dad's manifesto, and it's basically up to him to pick. Obviously, Blackwood isn't having any of that. Through the familiar that he's given Ambrose, controls him into killing the anti-pope and then frames him for killing the anti-pope and throws him in prison. While Ambrose is locked up, these basically witch hunter angels come on the scene and start basically stabbing everybody up. So there's a big episode where they come and they storm the church, they storm the School of Night, start stabbing everyone up, telling everybody that they need to repent for their sins and whatever. And Sabrina basically comes to save the day and she ends up shot up and killed, but then comes back to life and then turns into this whole other entity, and it's kind of just the start of a new journey for Sabrina, almost like Sabrina has been reborn as this new powerful witch. So Ambrose has been sentenced to death by execution, and in the council appeal they threw him a lifeline that he would be spared if he could produce this familiar that somehow controlled him into doing the act. Obviously, Blackwood intercepts that information when he finds out that Sabrina brought the familiar back to life through a snitch at the bar. He's charmed Zelda into being this subservient wife and gets him to do his dirty work, which is kill the familiar, to obviously sabotage Ambrose's case. The rumours start to spread about Sabrina being this other than witch, this all-powerful witch, and Blackwood obviously wants to get rid of her because he's scared of her power, and how he's trying to get rid of her, get her to show these miraculous powers in front of the council people so that they can kill her for being this too powerful being. I think it's called a heretic. I don't know if it's a crime to be too powerful, but apparently they can get her on that. So basically, his plan was to sabotage the familiar, obviously to cover his tracks, and because that would mean that would put Sabrina in a desperate situation where she'd need to show her skills to stop the execution from happening. Sabrina gets wind of this and somehow manages to stop the execution by making this illusion that the Dark Lord has appeared and called the whole thing off. So they managed to get Ambrose off on that. So obviously from season 1, Madame Satan, aka Mrs. Bordwell, has been instructed with getting Sabrina to do all of these tasks. that will benefit the Dark Lord. And obviously she realizes now that she's not going to be the queen of hell with Satan when he returns to Earth. So she's really bitter about that, because obviously Sabrina's taking that place, and now she kind of wants to sabotage that. So she's in the body of Mrs. Wardwell, and Mrs. Wardwell's fiance comes back on the scene, and at first she was just going to kill him, but she grows to like him and starts to fall for him. Obviously the Dark Lord is very jealous and basically tells her that he's the only person that she can love. She tries to go around it by doing this enchanting spell, but he basically tricks her, kills him, pretends to be him, and tricks her into eating him, which is just very cruel. So after, I feel for Madame Satan. I was rooting for her, for her to have like a little, normal-ish life with her mortal bae. But Dark Lord wasn't having any of that, and Madame Satan was pissed. So after that, she's like, you know what, you want to take away somebody that I love, I'm going to take away someone that you love. So after that, she's gunning for Sabrina, and basically she wants to kill Sabrina in revenge. After her newfound powers, she no longer has to use spells anymore. She can just think of stuff in her mind. She's given back Raz her eyesight without doing a spell. She thinks that her purpose of these new powers is to spread her father's manifesto. She wants to kind of bring the witch and the mortal world together, and she's planning on revealing her witch identity to mortals. Before that can happen though, Harvey and Theo go digging in the mines. Harvey was digging through some records and kind of saw something dodgy going on with one of the tunnels, and when he went down it, he basically saw this demon, fought them off, and then found this kind of tunnel seal with art on it that basically had Sabrina on it, and it's interpreted as a kind of painting that illustrates Sabrina as kind of the rhetoric of hell, someone who is instrumental in bringing on the apocalypse and the return of the Dark Lord to Earth. So everybody's doing their research, and Nick finds a prophecy about that is basically Sabrina, about a half mortal, half witch shadow who does all of these tasks, and after they complete all of these tasks, they will bring back the Dark Lord in human form. Obviously, Sabrina starts to put two and two together and realizes that she's already done most of these tasks, and she realizes that she's been a pawn for Madame Satan. So after that, Sabrina decides that her only option to stop the apocalypse happening is to give up all of her powers. So her and Ambrose do this maverick spell and think that all of the powers are going to be transferred to this object, and then they just drown the object. But it turns out that it makes a double of Sabrina instead of just an object. So the double basically has all of Sabrina's powers and basically goes around kidnapping all of her friends, and then tries to make doubles of them so then she can have friends. Yeah. There's this double of Sabrina walking around, and she's quite dangerous and she has all of these powers, and they think that the maverick, the double of her, is going to be used by Madame Satan to carry out the rest of the prophecy. So they decide they're going to Sabrina decides that she's going to kill her. But what she doesn't know is that killing her actually fulfills the last bit of the prophecy. So obviously that goes forward, and the prophecy is fulfilled, and the Dark Lord makes his return. So after that whole thing with Ambrose's trial, Blackwood's been demoted back to the High Priest and decides that he's going to enforce his manifesto inside the Church of Night, which he has now renamed the Church of Judas. And basically he's enforced that now in the school, in the academy, and in the church, and whoever disagrees with him will have strict consequences. He also puts a hit out on Sabrina, which is unsuccessful. Again, Blackwood's just throwing everyone and anyone in jail who disagrees. Hilda asks Hilda for help, and Hilda goes to the council to ask for help, and they basically said that it's none of their business. She basically calls them out, and then after, one of them comes to visit her privately and basically saying how he's on board with her plan, but basically pulls out like a creepy Weinstein move and basically says, you know, can you prove to me how much you want, you know, me to persuade the other people to get involved? And obviously she kills his ass, so, you know, another creeper dead. Obviously Sabrina knows what's up with Miss Bordwell and she threatens her, but it's already too late because the Dark Lord has made his return. Some rivalry going on between Prudence and Zelda, and Prudence decides to tell Blackwood about the secret baby. And she obviously instantly regrets it when he basically reveals that he plans to marry the twins together, like this is some Game of Thrones shit. Madame Satan reveals her identity to everyone basically. The Dark Lord returns and makes a visit to Blackwood and tells him that he answers to and he serves to Sabrina and Sabrina's his queen, yada yada. Which obviously he doesn't take very well. So the Dark Lord summons Sabrina and tells him all of the plans, like the coronation and how they're gonna rule the world together and enslave the mortals and the witches. And obviously Sabrina, she's not here for it. She's never been here for it. And he's basically saying that, you know, you always say no, but then you always just do what I say anyway. He also reveals that he was using Nick as a pawn, basically to get close to Sabrina. Obviously Sabrina is hurt that Nick could even do this to her, but Nick is like, you know, yeah, I did some things for him, you know, obviously when he comes to call you, you know, you can't just say no. But he swears that his feelings are true, and I believe him. And he also claims that he is Sabrina's real father and not Edward. And Hilda basically backs this up because Diana, Sabrina's mum, basically came to her saying that she wasn't sure if Edward was the gagged. So Madame Satan basically is now working with the Spellmans, and she has had enough of being the Dark Lord's pet and she's ready to fuck some shit up. So they're basically plot and scheme, and they meet. Well, Sabrina has this meeting with the Dark Lord, aka looking like her real daddy, out in the woods, and they plan to ambush him. And it looks like it's gonna work, but he gets the best of them, and he basically says, you know, you gotta blow the horn that opens the doors to hell, or I'm gonna kill your aunties. Obviously, she does it, but Theo, Harvey, and Roz are down in the mines working hard, and they manage to seal the gates of hell shut because Roz basically has a vision of the symbols which Harvey draws out, which basically protects or seals the hell gate. And she also learns how to make other people see her visions too. Time is running out, the odds aren't looking good, but Sabrina still has the last play, which is obviously in season 1 there was the configuration which her dad made, which is supposed to trap any type of demon, any type of entity inside it, and it won't be able to get out unless you know the configuration. So the plan is to trap him at the coronation at the ball. So the plan goes forward. You know, they're dancing. Sabrina looks amazing in her gold gown, and they're dancing the traditional waltz for the ceremony. And then everybody around them is doing the spell, and they chuck the thing at him, and he gets trapped. So that initial spell is successful. But obviously, he is a very strong demon, and he breaks free. Madame Satan manages to stall him for a second, but the only other thing that can trap him is an actual entity, a body for him to be trapped into. So obviously now it's like whose body is it gonna be? So Sabrina obviously offers herself up, but everyone's like, no, it's not gonna be you. And we all know it was never gonna be Sabrina, come on. Then Nick offers to do it, and nobody objects, so it's Nick. And basically they trap the Dark Lord inside Nick's body, and then they've got to banish him to hell. Well, not banish him to hell, but they've got to keep Nick's body in hell to make sure that the Dark Lord doesn't escape. So yeah, Nick basically is just trapped in hell, and I'm upset about that. So Madame Satan is now the Queen of Hell, and with that new title, she gives Sabrina her powers back. And she also brings back the real Miss Wardwell. In between all of this all, Blackwood has poisoned his whole congregation and basically has done a runner with his kids. He didn't poison Prudence, but Prudence manages to get the Spellmans to help resurrect as many people as they can, which I'm guessing is everybody. So Ambrose and Prudence come together and they both vow to kill Blackwood. Zelda is now the new High Priestess, and the season ends with, you know, the whole Sabrina and her friends at the cafe, and she declares that they're gonna go save Nick from hell. So overall, I feel it was a really good season. I would have liked to have another episode, but I think that the 9 episodes that we had were all really good. Some parts did drag a bit, but I thought that overall the writing was really good, the cinematography was really good, and the acting was really good. Out of the whole season, I think my favourite episode was episode 8, the Mavericks episode. I really love Sabrina's double. She's like my favourite character ever, and I was really sad when she died. Overall, I thought it was a really good season, and just as good as last season, so I'd give it a 4 out of 5. We'll see what's in store for next season. You know, obviously it's going to be centred around getting Nick back from hell, or that's at least going to be one storyline, getting Nick back from hell. Obviously, that is already complicated because, one, obviously his body is being used as a vessel to trap the Dark Lord's body, and obviously in order for them to free Nick, they're going to have to trap the Dark Lord somewhere else, in another entity or another object. So how's that going to happen? Is it going to be a successful transfer? That's probably the main issue. You know, it's probably not going to be, the main issue probably is not going to be releasing, saving Nick. It's probably going to be like, where's the Dark Lord going to go? Blackwood's on the loose now, and Prudence and Ambrose are doing all of this samurai stuff, trying to find him. What's their storyline going to be? Are they going to be lovers? Are they going to be assassins? Or are they going to be both? You know, with the people that write this show, I'm familiar with them. I'm familiar with their other show. Probably going to be like a sexy assassin storyline. Obviously, the Dark Lord has been trapped. What is that going to do to the structure of the witches, the witchland, the witch school, the witch council? How is that going to affect things? The demons that were coming for Sabrina in the beginning of the season, they were independent demons who just didn't agree with Sabrina being the prophet, being the queen with Satan. Are they going to come back for her? Are there going to be an army of them coming for her? What's going on with that? Possibly that could be another storyline for next season. What's gonna happen with Sabrina and Harvey? Are they done for good? Or are they gonna have another kiss again? What about Theo? Theo's kind of just out on his own. You know, is Theo going to be in a relationship? What's going to happen with Theo? That's pretty much covered. Let me know what you thought of this season, and let me know what you think is going to happen next season. That's the end of my review. I'm currently on 162 subscribers, and my short-term goal is to get to 170. So if you could subscribe to my channel, that would be fabulous. Until next time, guys. Bye. Keep it witchy.